It's kind of funny. We've made videos about these two teams in the past, and now we're linking a third. Because today we've got some updates to dive into when it comes to Vancouver Canucks forwards and where it is they could be traded to. If a trade's even possible, that is. We're heading over to the East and the West, two opposing coasts and two teams that played off against each other in the 2014 Stanley Cup Finals, because we have some New York Rangers and LA Kings updates linking Vancouver Canucks forwards to their teams. So without further ado, let's head over to a tweet posted by NHL Watcher. This one was from yesterday afternoon. Chris Johnston, on TSN's Insider Trading segment, went out there and said the New York Rangers offered Vancouver a young player with pedigree and a second-round pick for Kiefer Sherwood. That wasn't enough to get the deal done. The New York Rangers are now likely to be out of the running as they re-examine their direction as they sit last place in the Eastern Conference. Now, here's the thing. Young player with pedigree and a second-round pick for Kiefer Sherwood. Depending on who the young player is, I think there are various discussions you can have about this sort of a move. Now, there were some folks in the replies speculating things like, oh, if it was Gabriel Perreault, for example, then Vancouver probably should have accepted that deal. Other comments are saying things like, oh, if it was Brendan Othmann, then Vancouver probably made the right move by not accepting that trade offer. Brendan Othmann and a second-round pick for Kiefer Sherwood. I mean, I get it, Sherwood's just a rental. And you can't go out there and say that rentals demand the highest price on the market, but still, you can also say that there are probably better packages to be had. A guy like Gabe Perreault would have been amazing for the Vancouver Canucks. Just the skill, the offensive IQ, and the ceiling there. I like Gabe Perreault a lot, but if it wasn't him, then probably New York had a reason to go out there and offer them in a trade. Ultimately, though, Kiefer Sherwood in New York, I do kind of wish that a trade would have been able to push through in that way, assuming it was Gabe Perreault, mostly because I think the idea of the New York Rangers making trades for rental pieces before the Olympic break is just so funny to me, because this is a team that's literally last place in the East. They are one of the worst teams, and every single day, it seems like, there's a new conversation about JT Miller and how he's disappointing the fans and how everything's falling apart for this Rangers team. It does not look good. And I will say that there is a little bit of a hedonistic part in my brain that's like, yeah, no, bring on all the pain. Bring on all the misery in the Big Apple, because JT Miller was not the proper choice for this team to be captain. He ruined Vancouver's locker room and totally caused everything to fall apart. Not that there weren't other parties at play that caused the Canucks to fall apart, but you get what I mean. JT was one of the big contributors to the detriment of Vancouver's 2020 decade. And now seeing him falter and fall in the way that he is in New York, even the fans are disappointed with everything that's been going on with him specifically. I was kind of thinking, like, yeah, no, go out there and make a trade for Kiefer Sherwood. Try to get that Band-Aid solution yourself. Vancouver will take your Gabe Perreault. The Canucks will take a second-round pick and a Gabe Perreault if it is him available in a deal. Maybe not if it was Othmann, but still, there are a number of ways that you could talk about Rangers young dudes. And if this was the case, I think Vancouver probably would have had a lot of reason to talk about this type of a deal. Now, when it comes to the other trade rumor/trade idea, this one's a little bit more ludicrous, I would say. Because we had ourselves a post made by Mayor's Manor on their website and on their Twitter account. They go out there and say, Evander Kane and the LA Kings? Is that really a possibility? The article, which will be linked in the description, goes out there and talks about how, hey, this actually could be on the verge of happening here. It's still a rumor, but two separate sources have said they believe that Ken Holland, LA Kings GM, is kicking the tires on a potential Kane trade. Never mind the fact that the article goes out there and talks about what Kane is and what he has done. What I gather from the way it's written is that there isn't really any big bias or dislike for the idea from the perspective of the article and the folks that are writing this piece on Mayor's Manor. It doesn't seem like they're like, oh no, don't trade for him. I don't want this guy. He sucks. Like, Vancouver fans were saying that after Evander Kane was traded over here. But it doesn't seem like that's an element that the LA Kings beat reporters are going out there and saying too. Part of it is because of the fact that Evander Kane was a part of those Oilers teams that did well against LA the past few years. And then, of course, there is the connection with Ken Holland being the GM of the Kings. Obviously, he would happen to like players like this, considering the fact that he employed Evander Kane before. But E. Kane, heading over to LA, mentioned by various sources and acknowledged on LA Kings reported media, this would be quite the intriguing catch for any other team that wants to get more out of a Kane who just isn't playing to the best of his standard. He's not as physical as we expected him to be. He's not scoring as many goals as we expected him to. Oddly enough, his point production is actually not the worst part. If you just look at the raw, hard points, not the goals, but the points. He's getting a few assists this year, which I think is a welcomed change. He's on pace for 37 points on the year, which is obviously lower than a lot of the other seasons he has had recently, but the fact that he did miss all of last season, and there is the argument that exists that says, hey, he's just playing on Vancouver, so that's why he's not producing as much. I think there are enough benefits of the doubt here, especially for a team like LA that is also trying to fight their demons and get themselves a playoff spot in the latter days of Drew Doughty and Anze Kopitar's NHL careers. Could you have Corey Perry and Evander Kane on the same team? That sounds like an absolute nightmare for my money, but certainly something that I think would be intriguing enough to explore. And now with all the other reports coming out here too, that the Evander Kane trade sweepstakes might actually not be a total loss for the Vancouver Canucks. There have been some reports circulating that Vancouver probably can get the same assets that they had gotten back in exchange for Kane, which was, of course, a 4th-round pick. It's not like he's going to go out there and give the Canucks any extra value, but as long as he doesn't deplete value from the Canucks' possession, then I do think that it's reasonable to continue forward without any terrible repercussions. Sure, the idea of acquiring Evander Kane was nice, and I believed it. I thought it would do well, but yeah, we were wrong. Or at least I was wrong. A lot of y'all were right. So many of y'all in the comments section were disappointed with the trade and the fact that Vancouver was helping out Edmonton by freeing up that $5 million AAV salary. But with all that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. How do you feel about the idea of a Kiefer Sherwood trade to the New York Rangers and an Evander Kane move over to the LA Kings? Big trade rumors circling about here between the Canucks and these East-West rivals. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.